This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. Hey everybody, what's a happening, man? This is Kaz, and you have reached WTF Nation Radio and Kicking It with Kaz. Today is an awesome day. Today is I don't know how did I put that on the little intro thing. Tonight is the season finale of American football. What do they call that again?
The Super Bowl?
Super Bowl. Is this the first year that they've had that?
No, first year was when I was a kid.
Huh. I've never heard of it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Actually, this is Super Bowl 53? Got the
I don't know if it's that high.
I think it's 53. And they got let me see, the Patriots are playing the Rams. And the last I checked, it was 3-0. Almost at halftime. So I don't have a favorite in it. I really don't like I'm not a fan of the Patriots. Just it's like the Yankees. You know, when the Yankees are on a roll, you know, you got the Yankees are just kicking ass and they go to the World Series and they win and you're just like, the Yankees.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing for me with the Patriots. I really haven't sat down and watched a game in the last 2 seasons, so I don't know who's who.
You sound like just as bad as I am. At some point you just kind of sit there and go, this is all well and good, but especially after the last couple of years and the way everybody's been acting and they brought politics into it.
Very much.
Watching.
I watched an hour prior to the show. They had, all of the introduction of the teams. They had America the Beautiful, sung by 2 sisters that were local. I guess they're famous for whatever they can sing.
Yeah.
So they did America the Beautiful, and then, dude, Gladys Knight came out there and sang the national anthem, and dude, she kicked it out of the park. That was really good. I was really happy with the way that turned out.
That would have been nice to see, yeah.
I was like, oh my God, she's like 100,000 years old, and this is not going to be good. And it's dude. I mean, she surprised the shit out of me. She did a fantastic job. Congratulations. That was awesome.
I'm glad to hear it. I mean, that's really neat that they were. Sometimes it's just nice to have good, solid entertainment.
Right.
And
what I'm concerned with is the halftime show. Not personally. It's just I'm waiting for Maroon 5 to politicize this.
And that's my biggest problem is everybody tries to throw their politics and stuff when people don't want that. They just want to watch the game.
That's exactly right. I mean, I understand you have a right to expression and all that other good stuff, but primarily you're paid for your athletic ability and to play football for the team that you represent. You're not there to make political statements.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm with you on that. I really would like. I wish the players would realize that people just want to see them play if they can't. I mean, what was it last year? They said the last 2 years football has taken a really big hit as far as entertainment. They aren't now the top-rated entertainment sport out there.
They're not, or they are?
They are not.
Huh. You think that they just kind of lost their shine because of all the politics?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I think. Is they lost their shine.
I understand. Hey, we have an anniversary to, I don't want to say celebrate, but I guess an anniversary to acknowledge today. You might remember this when you were a kid. Maybe not.
I'm not that old.
Come on. So rock and roll was still in its infancy when it suffered its first tragedy on February 3rd, 1959. Three of its biggest stars, Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, known as the Big Bopper, were killed in a plane crash near Clear Lake, Iowa. The three acts, along with Dion and the Belmonts, were on a package tour called the Winter Dance Party, which was to play 24 Midwestern cities in 24 days.
Yep.
The bus heating system was ill-equipped and it broke down a few days later, which caused some musicians to catch the flu, and Buddy Holly's drummer, named Carl Bunch, to be hospitalized for frostbite.
Oh, jeez.
By the time they reached the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake on February 2nd, about a week and a half into the tour, Holly, after the show, decided to charter a plane from nearby Mason City to Fargo, North Dakota, just across the state line to their next gig in Moorhead, Minnesota. As a bonus, Holly would be able to do his laundry, which he had been neglecting to do since the tour began. That sucks.
Yeah. I remember they actually did a movie on that.
The plane was a Beechwood Bonanza. It had room for only 3 passengers, Holly and his band, and the pilot, Roger Peterson. Holly's bass player, future country legend Waylon Jennings, gave up his seat to Richardson, who was sick. Yep. According to Jennings' autobiography, Holly teased the bass player by saying, "Well, I hope your old bus freezes up," to which Waylon Jennings responded, "Well, I hope your old plane crashes." There are conflicting stories on how Ritchie Valens wound up in the third seat. Tommy Allsup, who was Holly's guitarist, claimed that he lost a coin flip to Valens in the dressing room. In 2010, Dion DiMucci, who had been silent about that night for about 51 years, claimed that he, not Allsup, was slated for that third seat because he was one of the headliners. But after winning the coin toss, he balked at paying $36 for the flight. $36 was the amount that his parents paid per month to rent an apartment where he grew up. So he gave Ritchie Valens the seat.
Oh, jeez.
Local DJ Bob Hale, who was the MC for the concert, agrees that it was between Allsup and Valens, but that he, not Allsup, flipped the coin. Regardless of the contradictions, around 12:55 a.m. on February 3rd, the plane carrying Holly, Richardson, and Valens took off in a snowstorm with strong winds, but it traveled only a few miles before crashing, killing all 4 men instantly. The federal investigation ruled that even though the weather played a large role in the accident, the 21-year-old Peterson pilot was too inexperienced to have been flying in such conditions. In addition, he had most likely misread the altitude indicator.
Oh, jeez.
At the time, Holly's wife was 6 months. Holly's wife of 6 months, named Maria Elena, was 2 weeks pregnant. The day after the crash, she suffered a miscarriage from emotional trauma. In March 1980, a long missing piece of the plane crash was discovered. Holly's signature black-rimmed glasses had landed in a snowbank were discovered in the spring of 1959 after the snow had melted. They were brought to the Cerro Gordo County Sheriff's Office, sealed in a manila envelope, and forgotten for 21 years. Upon discovery, the glasses were returned to his widow, and are currently on permanent display at the Buddy Holly Center in his hometown of Lubbock, Texas.
Wow.
60 years, man. That's a long time. So, got a little Buddy Holly trivia. Not to go on the screen there on Facebook, but just kind of trivia. Just question answer. What was Buddy Holly's real name?
Oh. That I couldn't tell you.
Buddy Holly's real name was Charles Hardin Holly.
Huh.
Ritchie Valens. What was Ritchie Valens' real name?
You're asking the wrong person.
Richie Valens' real name was Richard Stephen Valenzuela. He wrote La Bamba, didn't he?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe he performed it. Oh, geez. Camo's like, hey, L1 Camo's Lou Diamond Phillips? Because he played Richie Valens in La Bamba.
Exactly.
The Big Bopper, and his real name that I said in the beginning of the story was Giles Perry Richardson.
Hey, did you see that question in the Facebook?
I did not.
It's from Michael Borges. Is it possible for a Kansas City-based combat veteran to just visit the War Horses for Veterans location?
Absolutely.
I'm in a place right now, and I would like to connect. I live about 15 minutes from them.
Yeah. Go to warhorsesforveterans.com and send them a message. You can get them on Facebook. Patrick is not there right now. He's in Atlanta at the Super Bowl. But as soon as he gets back, Pat or Andy, someone whoever mans that account will get back with you right away. Maybe not right away, but in a reasonable amount of time. And yeah, man, just you can probably drop by. I'm not gonna say yes or no, but that place is an awesome place, man. I don't think you'll have a problem by paying them a visit, as long as you coordinate it with them.
Yeah, I saw that, and that's a valid question. So I wanted to make sure you heard it.
I appreciate the question.
You know more about the War Horses for Veterans than I do.
I know that it's awesome.
Yes, you do. And hello, everybody coming into the room. I see Casey showing up. I see Pinky showing up. All sorts of newbies and some oldies. So not a bad crowd showing up tonight.
Awesome. Thank you for choosing this show. But of course, it's probably halftime.
Yeah, everybody's bored.
I heard that it's quite a boring game.
Yeah, 3-0. Whoa,
3-0.
That's rough. I mean, that tells you there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, I saw the first couple of drives, and then I saw interception against Brady. Brady's first pass was intercepted.
Wow.
And then the Patriots missed a field goal. Then I had to lock myself inside here and not pay attention to as Spanky would put it, sportsing.
Yep. And Pinky, we care about all veterans. Well, we care about everybody, but we care about all veterans. Anybody going through hard times, all they have to do is connect with us, and someone will figure out a way to get to them. We try very hard.
Absolutely, the fact right there. You drop us a message, we're going to get back with you.
So yeah, we're always around. Don't ever if you know people who need help, let us know. So that's what we're here for. We're here for the 1%, the military, as they say.
So who is the 5th president of the United States?
Ooh.
These are the on-screen trivia questions. That'll be playing periodically through the broadcast tonight, just to kind of keep you on your toes. President number 5. James Madison, James Garfield, James Knox Polk, or James Monroe?
Good question. So how has your week been going?
My week was great. The weekend was fantastic. I finally got my desktop done, so my office is about 99% complete. All I have to do is move all my crap over there.
And so that means, everybody, you're gonna get to see Cause on camera.
Hey, if it works out, I'm gonna be I'll be on camera every Sunday. Shows tend to go a little better, and you get a little bit more audience interaction when there's a picture of someone speaking. Exactly.
So, Cause, there's a good chance within the next week or two, Cause will be showing his face.
Why not?
And depending on how things mold out, maybe I'll talk him into letting me pipe him in through my computer on occasion.
Oh, that'll work too. We can do like a split screen.
Exactly. My computer can do that. So
I can give it a shot. I don't know if I've got the processing power that yours does.
you don't have the graphics card.
That's it.
That's the one thing you really have to have. So
we just got done. We're like a week into. Well, it's not the shutdown. A week from the shutdown was averted last week. Was it Sunday?
It was last Friday.
Last Friday. Okay, that's right. That's right.
Friday before.
So the government is open at least for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and President Trump is trying to negotiate funds for the border wall. A 3-week continuing resolution was agreed upon last Friday. So we got a week left, or 2 weeks left rather, which means it's business as usual. Most furloughed workers will receive back pay. If an agreement is not reached in 2 more weeks, the same thing's going to happen again.
Well, I don't know. From what I've heard, I've been watching the news. They're meeting, but they're butting heads. They aren't meeting in the middle at all.
Yeah, I get it, Justin. I was just at a loss for words. I know there was a shutdown, but the shutdown was called off last Friday. But it's probably going to happen here in about 2 more weeks.
Yep.
So, without getting into the politics of everything, here's some information that may not be needed now, but it might be useful in the future, like in 2 weeks if this happens again. Something tells me President Trump's gonna declare an emergency, and then the government will be open.
Yeah.
But hey, that's just a prediction. So USAA has announced during the last shutdown that it'll be able to help members if a government shutdown delays military or government pay. Note up front that every situation is unique, and you may be in a special category that doesn't fit in the mold. Eligibility requirements include, but are not limited to, you must have a current direct deposit of a government payment with a USAA bank and at least 2 months of consecutive direct deposits of such payments. Loan amount is based upon 2 weeks of your normal direct deposit. Loan maximum is $6,000, and you must be in good standing with USAA. Due to international banking regulations, this offer may not be available to members permanently stationed in certain overseas locations. They were not specific when they said that. Other government pay, because of the way that the federal law is written, only military members are guaranteed as a group to be repaid for the period during a shutdown. Other government employees are not automatically in a, quote, guaranteed to be repaid status. Therefore, a payroll advance loan would not be appropriate. If you are a government worker and you will be impacted by delayed or lost pay, contact USAA directly to discuss solutions appropriate for your specific situation. And
keep this in mind, folks. Go ahead.
So I was doing today's Sunday, so I do all my banking is on Sunday. I'm just making sure all my payments that were due at the end of the month went through. I don't have any loose ends. And every site that I've got a Citibank card, I've got a Chase account, I've got a Wells Fargo account. So in all of these institutions are you impacted by the shutdown? Contact us for relief. I didn't read any of the details, but I imagine that they're willing to work with you. So if you're impacted by it right now, because I know being 35 days without a paycheck, if you have been affected by that, people are going to understand. Your creditors are going to understand. Sure, there are companies out there that have, I don't even know if you can go to collection over 30 days, over a 30-day lapse. But I know that there's stories. I've seen stories out there of creditors allegedly, saying, they're coming after me, and I got kicked out of my apartment, and this, that, and the other, and they repossessed my car. I don't necessarily believe that that's true unless you were already behind.
That would be my thought.
Right. But your institution, information is golden here. If your creditor knows that you're having these issues because of the government shutdown, I bet you they're more than willing to work with you on that, because nobody wants the bad press of kicking a troop out of their apartment or repossessing their car because they were late on their payment because they didn't get paid.
And that's the one thing that you need to keep in mind. Understand, do I think we're going to go into another shutdown? I have my doubts, but keep this stuff in mind, because if it happens, you already saw 30-some, they were in 40-some days.
I think that it was called off at 35 days, I think was the day. What was
35
the 35?
So at that point, everybody remember, that can be a paycheck or two. And a lot of people probably went through their savings, if they had any, trying to keep from having problems. Well, it's going to happen. If it happens, you don't know how long it's going to happen. So just keep this in mind.
My boss's son works for the Coast Guard, and they flew every day. They didn't stop their missions, but they did their jobs every day. But if a plane goes down, they're just going to go onto the next plane, just so they can maintain. They'll the word is cannibalization, but they don't like to use that. They prefer controlled exchange.
Yeah.
To remove from tail number so and so and reinstall on tail number so and so.
Yeah.
It's a it's a redistribution of assets. It's not cannibalization.
So keep this stuff in mind, folks. We're in a kind of a limbo area right now. Isn't it didn't they say the State of the Union is supposed to be this week?
Tuesday. During your show.
No, during Minx's show.
That you're filling it. Is Minx doing it, or are you on?
She's on.
Is that official?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yep. Minx takes over as of the 5th, and that is this Tuesday.
Well, cool. I guess that's an easy day to come back when you have the State of the Union to kind of back you up, because that's going to be. I really don't know if that's going to be. It's very important. The State of the Union is very important, regardless of who the president is.
Yes, it is.
I think it's. I don't know, man. When President Obama gave his State of the Unions, I didn't pay as much attention as I am with President Trump.
And that's because President Trump actually tries to make sure you get information that's being withheld, that the news media, all news media, hasn't been reporting on.
Maybe I'm just expecting him to go off script.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just, and I'm not saying it's like a train wreck you can't stop watching. It's just you don't really know what to expect, because President Trump isn't a politician. He's a businessman who happens to be president of the United States. So exactly. he's gonna lay it on you. He's not gonna BS you. It doesn't seem like he would BS you.
And I agree with you. So I agree. It's going to be interesting. So do you want me to go ahead and start my
Absolutely, because I know almost all of us are guilty of this.
Uh-huh. Okay. If you've poured yourself a glass of wine or two and then started browsing Amazon, you're not alone. And you may have spent more than you meant to. A new survey finds that Americans who shop online under the influence spend over $40 each time. Gin drinkers actually spend the most, about $82 on average, while whiskey drinkers are the cheapest buzzed buyers. The poll covered over 1,000 people who reported purchasing an item off of Amazon while under the influence of alcohol.
Damn.
Boozy purchases often end in buyer's remorse. About 50% of those surveyed said they later returned what they bought. And buying under the influence is more common than you think. Almost half, 46%, of Americans admit to regularly making purchases while drinking.
That's really bad. And it's worse. I mean, with alcohol, it's one thing, but I mean, there's like Ambien and Amazon. You kind of wait for a week or whatever, and all these things show up at your door, and you're like, who ordered these?
Overall, the report estimates Americans spend $30.4 billion on spontaneous drunk purchases. The most common being food, followed by shoes and clothes.
What about a wall on the southern border? We only need $5.7 billion.
That's about $447.57 per person. If you're looking to keep your online spending in check, the best advice is to slow things down. Experts recommend leaving the items in your cart overnight or even for 24 hours. This may actually save you money, even if you do decide you still want what you were considering, since many retailers will send coupons or discounts in an effort to convince you to check out.
I've done that before. I've kept things in my shopping box or my shopping cart.
Yeah.
Just like, because I don't want to lose it. I don't want to forget about it. I don't need it now, but I'm going to need it later. So I throw it in my shopping cart. And then I start getting email. Hey, you have this item in your shopping cart. Here is a coupon for 10% off of that price. Use this coupon code.
Huh. That's not a bad deal.
Not on all of them. That doesn't happen on everything that I've put into my shopping cart, but it has happened.
Huh. See, I haven't noticed. I probably should, because I put stuff in my shopping cart with Amazon and Newegg all the time, and I probably should check that out.
Through Amazon. I'm sorry, Newegg through Amazon.
Newegg and Amazon.
Oh, okay.
For those of you that don't know, Newegg. I'm a computer geek, so Newegg is one of the places I shop for my computer stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, you think about. Do you drink when you go shopping?
No.
I heard hesitation.
No, but we've talked about that at work. Like, Home Depot could probably increase their sales if instead of coffee they had like a beer bar or a beer garden in the middle of it.
Problem is, once you have that beer, you can't leave unless someone came with you.
Meh.
Okay, your poll came up.
Yeah, James Monroe was the 5th president of the United States.
I did not know.
It was one of those Jameses.
Uh-huh. and Casey says Dora equals dollar.
Dara.
Dara.
Equals dollar. Speaking of Dara, Sergeant Botface is back on the job.
Isn't that nice to see?
It is. I really like Sergeant Botface when he shows up to work.
We should have called him Warrant Botface.
I don't know. He was demoted from sergeant down to E4 and then from E4 down to PFC, and he was almost about to lose everything.
Well, the reason I say warrant, you never know when warrants are going to show up.
That is true, but they've always got coffee, so they're not all that bad. Got some disability news.
Really?
I do. Veterans rejected for disability benefits will now have a new slate of appeals starting this month, when federal officials will put in place an overhaul that the review with a review process in the hopes that that it will dramatically cut down on wait times for complicated cases. A couple weeks ago, VA officials announced that they will implement new appeals modernization rules starting on February 19th. Work on the effort has been underway for more than 18 months since lawmakers passed sweeping reform legislation on the topic in August of 2017. When I filed for my disability claim, I was fast tracked, and
really?
from the time that my I filled out all the paperwork, went to my appointments, I went through my medical review. I had to drive to Dallas for one appointment. I had to drive to Frisco for another appointment. I went to Burleson, Texas for another appointment.
Whoa!
They have to be done by approved physicians.
Yeah.
So once all of those were done, those folks have, from the time, and this was in my case, from the time that those doctors were done examining me, they had, like, that week, they had like 7 days to finalize their report and submit their findings.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it took 90 days. And then I got the big packet in the mail. And then I appealed. And then I had to go through some more examinations. And then that came back, and they had upped my percentage.
Wow.
But I have no complaints, dude, other than driving. But, it's for a disability, so I got compensated.
Yeah. Well, that's not bad then.
And yeah, it's not bad at all. So
see, with me, back in the old days, they put me through, and it took the first. I had to go through 2 rounds. The first round it took, I'm thinking, 11 months, and the second one it took 3 months.
Ooh.
The first one was my first put in, and they tried to rate me lower than the military. And by then, the military came back and said, see, my first rating with the military was, like 80%. And then the second one came back 100%. And when I put in the militaries, the VA automatically just said to hell with it, and they gave me 100%.
I think the reason why my claim went so long is I didn't know, and it wasn't until I got involved in WTF Nation Radio that I learned through our VA rep that we have. If you guys have VA issues, you can get a hold of our VA rep. Just go through WTFNR.com. And there's like a contact us, and under contact us is contact our VA rep. It's completely anonymous. That conversation and that communication is just between you and our VA rep. We here at the station don't see any of that.
Yeah.
And we do comms checks every couple of weeks just to make sure that they're still online and doing these things, and they've helped a lot of people. But the reason why the reason why mine took as long as it did, and it didn't take that long.
Yeah.
Was because the injuries that I had happened in 1995, and I ETS'd. I'm sorry, it was early in 95. I ETS'd in October of 96, and I had when I out processed, I did all my information for the VA that they mailed things to me that I never received. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, I tried. And I was a young man when I ETS'd, so I never followed up. I just thought that's just the way it is. And it was the Temple, Texas VA, or I'm sorry, the Waco VA that was trying to contact me. I'm up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I never got those communications saying that, hey, you have an appointment. And it wasn't until after I went through this process just recently that it says here that the VA tried to contact you, and then you had 2 missed appointments, and then they put your claim as inactive.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, okay, this is news to me. So we move forward on everything, and that. And I was like, well, since I did file a claim, can I get 20-something years of back pay? And they're like, no, that doesn't work like that.
No.
I'm like, you know what? The answer is no unless you ask.
Exactly. You don't know till you ask.
Right.
But no, the VA, people come down hard on the VA. It's all in how you do the paperwork. And that's one thing I learned. And I knew how to bring the paperwork together and how to bring references together. I've helped a number of people who've gotten their stuff kicked back.
I did my initial paperwork myself. And then the answer came back, and it wasn't what I thought it should be.
Yeah.
Because they didn't address 2 of the injuries that I had. So then I heard, okay, get a VSO, a veteran service organization like the American Legion or
DAV.
DAV is a big one. Get in with them, and then they will be your point of contact to the VA. And I did mine through the American Legion, and all that did for me, and this is my experience, was just kind of put a name on the paperwork. Mm-hmm. But I really had just maybe 1 or 2 emails back and forth to my representative, and nothing else. There was no conversation. I was kind of disappointed in that, but.
And see, that's the thing is when I went through, I actually used DAV. DAV is actually allowed to represent you in the adjudication. They're the only ones that are allowed to. Even the lawyers aren't allowed. When they're doing when someone is actually sitting down and looking at the books and deciding where you fit, you're actually allowed to have a DAV representative in there.
That's good to know. So continuing with the story, now VA leaders are hoping that the most difficult reviews can still be completed in under a year for the vast majority of cases. Their target for cases which don't go before the Board of Veterans Appeals is an average of about 4 months for a final decision. A successful appeal can mean potentially thousands of dollars in monthly benefits, payouts for veterans who have previously been turned down for what they believe are service-connected injuries or illnesses. VA and Capitol Hill leaders hailed the changes as a long overdue fix. So and there's just this is all just politicians chiming in saying I help with this and we need to take care of our veterans. I mean that's all true. That's absolutely true. I don't like the posturing by politicians.
No, and I don't care what they say. I've never really thought much of the politicians and the way they view the VA, and the fact that there's too many politicians in the administrative side of the VA.
So now there's going to be 3 options for the veteran who is claiming disability. Under the first of the 3 new appeals processes, veterans can file a supplemental claim where they introduce new evidence backing their case. The appeal is handled by specialists at a regional office who render a final decision on it. In the second option, veterans can request that their case be reviewed by a senior claims adjudicator instead of a regional office. Those experts will review cases for clear errors or mistaken interpretations of statute. If they find mistakes, they can mandate corrections for these cases. Finally, veterans will also be able to appeal directly to the Board of Veterans Appeals. These cases are expected to take the longest to process because of the legal prep work involved. Veterans can get a direct decision or request a hearing beforehand. Portions of the new process has been implemented as pilot programs at select sites in recent months. Previously, cases involved a combination of all 3 options, with cases reset and repeating steps with every new submission of case evidence. Veterans with cases currently pending in the system can opt into the revamped processes starting this month, or remain on the current system if they believe it would be a better benefit for them. So if you guys have any questions, get with your VA office. Get with like a VA. I've got a VA medical center that's like not even 15 minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
They will be able to, I mean, I've got really great reps at my VA. The Fort Worth VA is awesome. I've never had a bad experience there.
Well, it's up until I moved up here, I hadn't had, but here in Spokane, I've had some bad experiences with the VA. So they're out there.
Like bad how? Just like a lackadaisical approach to what you're trying to get treated for?
I actually had a doctor tell me that what I was diagnosed with is bull crap, and he at that point said, "I'm taking you off all your medications, and I'm resubmitting everything on you." I went to the VA rep, and he says, "Well, I'll stop him from submitting, but I can't do anything about the medications." I had to immediately go to the base, ask for an emergency referral so that I could get to a rheumatologist to get my medications prescriptions wrote.
Damn, that put you out of commission for a while.
Yeah, he truly messed me up. And he also said some very improper things at the same time. And normally that wouldn't bother me, but the fact is he was personally attacking me as a person and calling me a liar.
Oof.
And I sat there, and the person who made my diagnosis was the person who directly answered to the Surgeon General about arthritis. So he's the top in his field.
So is that when you punched him in the throat and then you spent 30 days in the hole?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. This guy, the sad part is they rallied around him after I launched a complaint, and he actually got promoted.
Fuck up, move up, right?
Yeah. And I moved my status to the VA where I said, okay, I'll come in once a year. I'll use it for clinics. Once a year, I'll talk to a primary care, but I will not talk to your rheumatologist or any of your doctors.
Is he still on your list? Or is he still your guy?
What do you mean?
Is that rheumatologist that's been a problem still on? Is he still a guy that you go to?
No. They do not make me go to a rheumatologist at the VA. I have a civilian rheumatologist because the Army, the base out here does not have a rheumatologist at their hospital. So I actually see a civilian doctor who actually knew the doctor who diagnosed me.
Wow.
And actually sat there and said, who the hell calls him a liar? He's like the man to go to when it comes to arthritis. So no, that was a really bad situation that I had up here. But I do go to the clinics, and the clinics are fine. It's just the main doctors I have to be careful of, because this doctor actually tried to make me go through a full VA review, and I'm permanent and total.
Woof.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's over.
Uh-huh. So that's that the VAs, they vary from hospital to hospital, and I wish it wasn't that way.
And that's what I say, even in other groups, I'm just like, your experience at your particular VA experiences will vary. And
yes.
It varies on the staff and their level of experience and their dedication to customer care, and it also has a lot to do with your attitude as a patient.
I agree with you.
Yeah, if you go in there being a butthead, then you're probably not going to get the best care that you could. They'll check the box and do the bare minimums and get you out the door.
You're right, and that it's attitude is everything. Along with I tell people you have to be your own advocate. You have to know what your problems are, and you have to know what you're being given, so that you can at that point be able to interact with your doctor and say, I'd rather not try this. Can I try this? Because there are medications out there that doctors will push that you may not want to be on. My doctor, my civilian doctor, he and I have gone round and round about certain medications, but he listens to me because I have good information. And it's not that I scream at him. I just simply say, I'm not to that point where I'm willing to give in, because I know once I get on this medication, it's going to do this, this, and this. And I don't want that.
And that's not even talking about the hard narcotics.
No. It's talking about the bio I forget how they're.
Well, you don't want to fall into that rut, and I'm just going to put this in layman's terms, as Redleg would say, kind of break it down Barney style. Is they give you they prescribe you a medication. Well, that medication has certain side effects, whether it reduces your immune system or if it lowers your testosterone or whatever. So in order to counter those side effects, they give you more drugs.
Exactly. And the thing is, a lot of times they don't give you what you really should. They should be giving you stuff that lowers your immune system. A lot of times they won't give you immune boosters. They don't prescribe those because a lot of insurance companies won't allow them to prescribe those or immune boosters for a lot of medications now. And I went round and round about with my doctor about that one. That's where the reason I ended up where I did 4.5 years ago, and that's the reason now I am doing better. So
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it all comes back, and the VA, it's not perfect. No system is going to be perfect. Go get if it doesn't sound right, ask questions,
or just be aware of the side effects of the medication. If they prescribe you medication,
exactly.
Just be aware of what it does. So I've got another poll question. What's the capital city of New Zealand?
Ooh.
Your choices are Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, or Dunedin.
Huh. That ought to be interesting.
Yes, I'm ready for the next story. I failed at this one. I thought it was one of them, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
All right, go on to the next one.
Okay, this pertains to what is going on right now. Super Bowl-bound New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady is a cheater. It's science.
Science.
So says Mill Creek Elementary School in Lexington, Kentucky, which named 10-year-old Ace Davis the winner of the school science fair for his project, proving Brady cheated during the 2015 AFC Championship game. Davis, who also plays quarterback for the school's football team, titled his project, "Is Tom Brady a Cheater?" It focused on the Patriots star user of underinflated footballs during the AFC Championship game against the Indianapolis Colts. The Patriots beat the Colts 45-7 in that matchup, advancing to another Super Bowl and winning it again. The next season, however, the star quarterback received a 4-game suspension, and the Patriots were fined $1 million for the scandal known as Deflategate. That penalty barely fazed the Pats. However, New England again won the Super Bowl that season, completing an all-time comeback against the Atlanta Falcons to capture Brady's 5th title with the team. But Davis decided he would succeed where the NFL had barely made a dent. Why? Because I hate Tom Brady.
Well, that was honest.
He's been accused of cheating before. I want him to be caught. Davis and the league believed the deflated footballs helped give Brady an advantage during the 2015 game. To test his theory, the boy threw footballs with different amounts of air in them to see which would go the farthest. He determined the football with the least amount of air went the farthest. Davis's conclusion read, the Patriots were found guilty of doctoring footballs, thus losing $1 million and future draft picks. Tom Brady is indeed a cheater. Davis school apparently agreed. The youngster, who is a fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, offers his prediction for how Davis would play in this year's Super Bowl, which comes against the Rams. Brady plays terrible. 3 interceptions. Rams win 30-14. Asked what he would say to Brady if he ever met him, Davis was unrelenting in his remarks. Said Davis, "Give me some of your money. You don't deserve it."
I think a 10-year-old is not old enough to actually form an opinion like this without some encouragement by the parents. That's my opinion. I think he's been brainwashed by his sport fan family.
I don't know about that. Okay, when I was his age, I had already been playing football, and I had my own opinions, and I truly got to remember at that age, cheating stands out in your mind. I mean, you will watch, especially in elementary and junior high football, you watch players go bananas over a player who brings in an extra pad or does something that's considered a cheat hit. Okay, so it wouldn't surprise me if he came to that conclusion on his own. Because
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but it just seems like he's been brainwashed.
Well, me personally, when I played football in elementary school, we had guys who would show up with forearm pads, and I actually challenged it in a game, and they had to take them off because it's in the dress code. It said these specific things, and it did not include those. And I sat there and said, so that's cheat. And that team actually lost that game against us because the guys had gotten so used to having that padding and using it. Without the padding, they got hurt.
That shit hurts.
Kids are believe in honesty, and you have to give them that.
Man, I need a Florida man sound bite.
Here we go.
Oh I just saw this. I just turned the page, and there it is. I got a Florida man
hello,
story.
Tyler. Good to see you, and hello, Elena. It's good to see you too.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So the capital of New Zealand is Wellington. I thought it was Auckland.
You and me both.
I've heard of Christchurch, and I've never even heard of Dunedin.
I almost ended up in Australia when I got out of the Army.
Australia.
There were jobs down there.
Well, there's still jobs over there.
Well, they were actually trying to hit up guys getting out of the military back when I got out and offering us high-paying jobs. So New Zealand was actually a part of that too.
So here's my Florida man story for the night. Pinellas Park, Florida. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office arrested a 56-year-old Peter Hans Emery Jr. on a felony charge of theft. Investigators said he was caught on camera opening the victim's lockbox, taking a pill bottle and dumping several pills into his hand before walking away. Authorities said the pill bottle had a label on it that read hydrocodone acetaminophen. The bottle actually contained, wait for it, Equate Gentle Laxatives. The sheriff's office said Emery threw away the pills when he learned that they were not hydrocodone. Once arrested, Emery pulled the pills out of the trash to show deputies the evidence. Emery has 2 prior theft convictions on his record.
Could you imagine if he hadn't realized they weren't hydrocodone?
Oh my gosh, and he goes into the hospital for like dehydration, or I don't know how he takes it. He probably snorts it or smokes it, or.
And it would definitely do some damage.
Oh my gosh. So what did this patient do? Well, he snorted 3 lines of laxative. I'm not curious enough to try that, but I really wonder what that would do to his nasal cavity and his body after he ingests it. That's crazy.
Oh, it would be, yeah, it would not be pretty. I've working in the military and working in a hospital, they bring us down sometimes when they need extra help in the emergency room. And some of the things that you would see, and some of the things, even soldiers who could get in trouble did. Just you have to look at them going, really? You didn't think this through, right?
I like the way you said that. You're like, really?
Oh, I was the nicest of them.
What were you expecting?
Oh, some of the things, and you always knew the things that you always knew. You always knew when field exercises were over, and you always knew when field exercises had started, and you knew when it had been about a month, when soldiers had been back about a month.
Especially around a payday.
Uh-huh. the stuff that would happen when guys got home from the field. That's when you would end up with domestic violence problems because of Jody. And the going out to the field, that's when you would end up with interesting things coming in that had and wives coming in with interesting problems.
Right.
And then a month after being out of the field, that's when you started seeing issues come up domestically because, well, my husband's been home this long, or they went out and spent too much money, got drunk. Yeah, you're right. That's when you saw the alcoholism coming out. So you just never know. You just never know these days, or back then. And even it holds true today. I mean, I was in from 1981 to 1992.
Yeah, I got out, and my first ETS date was 1992. Then I was out for a year and some months, and then I couldn't get enough, so I went back in.
Yeah, you signed back up to get abused.
And it was fine. But both times, even when I enlisted the first time, I didn't have, a recruiter didn't talk me into it. I went to a recruiter's office and said, I want to join up. What are my options?
Yeah. And see, I'm the same. I actually went back in. I got in. I signed up the first time a year in advance. Excuse me. And then the second time, I got out for 6 months and said, you know what? College is not for me. I got in an argument with the dean of the East Campus in Nebraska and said, you know what? I can't see why I'm going to pay for a bunch of classes I really don't need, and I don't like being told that my military experience is nothing. So yeah. I said, you know what? I'm going back in, and I did.
And you know what? It's about break time.
You know what? It is.
So we're going to take a break for a couple of minutes. Please tune back in. We'll be talking about like what not to do if you discover that your parents are coming to visit and they're on an airplane. We're also going to talk about the Wienermobile and an emotional support alligator and more stories.
Shots.
We'll see you in a couple minutes.
This is Randy Couture, and you're listening to WTF Nation.
WTF Nation Radio.
To believe you never threw the shit to me.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
All right, we are back for part 2 of Kicking It with Kaz here on WTF Nation Radio. My name is Kaz, and I am your host, and I'm joined here with Owl, who also has been doing a show filling in for Minx on Tuesdays, for Tied Up Tuesdays, but rumor has it that Minx is going to make her glorious return next Tuesday, or this Tuesday on the 5th.
Yep.
Outstanding.
So the family will be back.
We're getting the band back together, dude. Dude.
It's all good.
So hey,
go ahead.
When you were stationed like stateside, did your parents ever come and visit you, or did you ever have that opportunity?
Yes, actually. My mother came to visit me when I was stationed in Georgia, and again, my parents came to visit me in Colorado.
That's pretty nice. I mean, if you have a good relationship with your parents, you're probably like, wow, I'm going to get to see my parents again.
Yes, it is nice.
Even when I went overseas, when I contracted, I went over to Iraq for a year. But I had to go to Fort Benning, and you go through all the medical evaluations and you get all your shots and all that super stuff. But my parents were on a road trip. They were going down to Miami. They go to Miami every year.
Yeah.
And they actually made a detour, and they came out to Fort Benning, and we ended up spending an afternoon together before I got on the plane and flew over.
Nice.
So that was really cool. I was on it wasn't a love-hate relationship. It was kind of just an estranged. We acknowledged each other's existence. All the entire time that I was in the Army. So we never really connected. I went home. Let me see. I went to, God, this is a long time ago. I was in AIT. I went to my first duty station. Between my first duty station and Korea, I went home on 30 days leave. And that was the last time I saw my parents until I ETS'd in 1996.
Wow. Well,
while I was in the military. After I got out of the military, I got married and had kids and everything like that. And then our relationship started to grow and get closer.
Yeah.
But all that time that I was in the military, man, it was all, I got a card for my birthday, a card at Christmas, maybe a phone call, or my dad would call or get in touch with me with family news. Mark, my brother Mark graduated police academy or whatever.
Well, that kind of relates to the story I've got to talk about.
Really?
A flight in France was diverted after a hoax bomb threat was called in by a young man who wanted to avoid seeing his parents.
Get out of here.
The student from Rennes made an anonymous call, which led EasyJet Flight 4319 to turn around and land at its point of departure. The author of the hoax has been identified. The public prosecutor said in a statement, adding that it was a 23-year-old student who did not want his parents, who were on board the plane, to visit him. The man was placed in custody and will appear in criminal court on May 21st, charged with false news compromising the safety of an aircraft in flight.
I'm sure he'll be able to see his parents when he goes to court.
Yeah, I'm sure at this point his parents are well aware and probably at that point going, okay, explain yourself.
Well, and you got to figure it's, his mom's probably going, George, he's your son.
And he's probably
going, no, he's your son.
Oh, geez. You can't make this stuff up, people. You really can't.
But it's France, you know. So how can you really take the threat seriously?
You have to take it seriously. I mean, come on, a bomb threat in France.
Yeah. Casey's his parents will visit him in jail. What I'm thinking is the kid was kind of a slacker and he was, you know, at odds with his parents.
Or worse yet, maybe he was worried that his parents might find out that he was doing bad in school or something.
Right. It could have been anything.
Yeah. I sit there and say, you know, there's no reason to go that far. I mean, unless you have been suspended and have been living off the money they've been sending.
Yeah, I want to see what you've been doing with all these dollars that I'm sending you, or euros in that case, euros.
Oh God. I can't imagine someone concocting that kind of thought. I mean, the irresponsibility behind that.
Right. So are you an adventurous person? Socially, just up for adventures?
I used to be, yes.
So if you're hungry for adventure, Oscar Mayer wants to hear from you.
Oh, do tell.
The hot dog company is looking for its next hot dogger, a.k.a. the driver of its famous Wienermobile. The job is much more than just driving, though. Oscar Mayer said the position, which will last for 1 year, is a goodwill ambassador for the brand. The hot dogger drives coast to coast for appearances and makes visits to grocery stores, military bases, and charity functions. Oscar Mayer is accepting applications for the job until, well, the end of the month. And the person who gets the job will start in June. If you are interested in applying, you must have the educational requirements are kind of interesting. You need a BA or a BS in public relations, journalism, communication, advertisement, or marketing. According to Oscar Mayer, the job offers a competitive salary, benefits, and clothing, and a company car that is guaranteed to turn heads.
So, here's the question. Can you sing the song?
No, I can sing the bologna song. I didn't know that there was a wiener song.
Hot dogs.
Armor hot dog, but that's Armor hot dog, not Oscar Mayer hot dogs.
Hot dogs. Armor hot dogs. What kind of kids eat Armor hot dogs?
But that's Armor hot dogs. That's not Oscar Mayer.
You're right. Trying to think. Oscar Mayer has a way with
BOLOGNA. That's the bologna song.
There you go.
And hot dogs are basically bologna, just in a hot dog form. Exactly. So I did some looking in, and Oscar Mayer has had a Wienermobile since 1936. Was the first Wienermobile. I
remember that being a big deal.
And it's been, I mean, and I'm looking at it. There's let's see, in 1936, it was built by the General Body Company of Chicago. Mm-hmm. In 1952, it was a Gerstenslager from Wooster, Ohio, built on a Dodge chassis. 1958, it was a Brooks Stevens model. 1969, Oscar Mayer had the Oscar Mayer was the manufacturer of that from Madison, Wisconsin. It was a Chevy chassis with a Ford Thunderbird taillights. 75, it was built by Plastics Products in Milwaukee. 88, it was built by Stevens Automotive Corporation in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 95, Harry Bentley Bradley for Carlin Manufacturing in Fresno, California. And that one, it was a Pontiac Grand Am with Trans Am taillights. 2000, Craftsman built the Wienermobile. And again in 2001. There was a prototype in 2004. It was a GMC W Series chassis with a Pontiac Firebird taillight. In 2008, it was another prototype, and it was a Mini Cooper So I don't know what it is now.
It looks like at least a dually chassis.
In 2017, Oscar Mayer introduced 3 new Wienermobiles. The Wiener Cycle, the Wiener Rover, and the Wiener Drone. So I imagine that along with being a brand ambassador, if you want to drive the Wienermobile, if you are a drone operator or a motorcycle driver, you can kind of throw that hat into the ring. That would be kind of neat.
Oh, Casey brought it up. I wish I were an Oscar Mayer Wiener.
There it is.
That is what I truly want to be. 'Cause if I were an Oscar Mayer Wiener. And let's see. What's the very end? I got to get it there. Everyone would be, everyone would be in love with me.
That's
Everyone
it.
would be in love with me. There we go.
That was. Oh, that was awesome. Thank you for that soundbite.
Hey, I'm more than willing to sing stuff like that for fun. Oh, for those of you that want to know about the game, it's tied 3-3.
3-3. Sounds like a boring game, man.
Yeah, it sounds like it's
It sounds like it's a defensive fight. I haven't seen much of it.
No, me neither. So, anyway, speaking of interesting things that are out there in life, are you much of a Pennsylvania person?
I've been to Pennsylvania a couple of times.
Now, how about do you believe in emotional support animals?
I do.
Okay. Would you like to have an emotional support alligator?
I'm going to pass on that.
A Pennsylvania man says his emotional support alligator helps him deal with his depression. 65-year-old Joey Henney of York Haven says his registered emotional support animal named Wally likes to snuggle and give hugs. Despite being a 5-foot-long alligator, Henney says he received approval from his doctor to use Wally as his emotional support animal after not wanting to go on medication for depression.
I support that.
Okay. Wally was rescued from outside of Orlando at 14 months old. Wally eats chicken wings and shares an indoor plastic pond with a smaller rescue alligator named Scrappy. Henney acknowledges that Wally is still a dangerous wild animal and could probably tear his arms off, but says he's never been afraid of him.
When I first read this story, I saw the headline, and I'm like, oh, this jackass tried to get on an airplane or something with his emotional support alligator. But I read the story and understood what it was, and I'm like, oh, okay. The dude has an emotional support alligator. He doesn't fly with it. He just has it.
Yeah.
And I really commend him for doing that as opposed to getting on medications.
And he actually takes him to nursing homes and lets him walk around and greet people there.
That's probably a sight to see in Pennsylvania. I don't think that would be such a good thing to have in Florida, for example, or Georgia, southern Georgia.
No.
I read another story that I don't have it in front of me, but it was that Florida is one of the most dangerous states to go for a walk because of the alligator issues there.
Yeah. And it is. I mean, there are people there that will go to sleep, wake up, and they'll have an alligator outside their home. Or I've heard of people who have those doggy doors.
Oh, gosh.
Your little doggy would become alligator meat.
Exactly.
I give Kaz a hard time about his little dog. His little dog likes to chase him around the house.
Oh, my gosh. I took off to the bathroom during the last break, and that dog just took off after me and barking all kinds of vicious. But this dog could not harm anybody. Even if it was really pissed off, it couldn't.
Oh, the things that we do for our animals, I just have to laugh.
Oh, this dog is really cool. It's my daughter's dog. It's a little Yorkie. It weighs about 2.5 pounds, and his name is Oliver.
My cats would knock your dog over.
Probably. Dude, the squirrels here are bigger than this dog. Oliver can sit, like when I'm doing show prep, Oliver sits on my desk in between my laptop and my soundboard and just sits there. Watches me, and I talk to it, and I'm reading him stories, and he likes the company.
And see, at least that's, I mean, my cats, if I let them in this room, first they have to explore every nook and cranny, and then my little girl Flower will get up on the desk and get underneath the monitor and watch me.
Hey, speaking of animals.
Yes.
A group of which of these animals is called a murder? A murder of squirrels, a murder of crows, a murder of cows, or a murder of beavers?
That's a good one. Ooh, AL1 Camo says crows.
And Camo is correct. You win a new car.
And come on down.
See, I know Spanky is probably hanging around between the game because she's really, really into football.
Yeah.
But I do have a Spanky minivan trivia question, which is next after this one. King Arthur, it is said, is the son of which British king? King Ferdinand, King Percival, King Uther, or Mardred?
I think I know that one. We'll see.
I knew it, and I didn't know I knew it. I don't know if that makes sense. The answer was in my head, but it wasn't a conscious knowing of, oh, yeah, the king is the son of this.
Well, we'll see if we know it.
Oh, I've got a story.
You've got a story.
I do, and this is kind of a neat story.
Do tell.
When the Apollo 14 astronauts returned samples from the moon's surface, they probably didn't realize that they were reuniting Earth with a bit of its early history. The moon rock probably collided with the moon after an impact sent it hurtling from Earth about 4 billion years ago, according to research published last week in the Journal of Earth and Planetary Science. Researchers believe that a large comet or asteroid hit the Earth and sent the rock up through the atmosphere and into space. The rock was able to make this serendipitous collision with the moon because it was 3 times closer to the Earth at the time. The rock contained quartz, feldspar, and zircon, which are very common on Earth but not common at all on the moon. An analysis of the rock revealed that it was formed at temperatures associated with Earth and in an Earth-like setting combined with oxygen. It crystallized between 4 billion and 4.1 billion years ago when the Earth was young, about 12.4 miles below the surface.
Wow.
If it had formed on the moon, it would have reflected different temperature conditions. It would also be highly unusual for a lunar sample. It would have formed deep in the moon in the mantle, where scientists think that different rock compositions can be found. When the Apollo 14 astronauts collected it almost 48 years ago, between January 31st and February 6th of 1971, they thought it was an organic sample that would provide information about the moon and its composition. Researchers also said it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary find that helps paint a better picture of the early Earth and the bombardment that modified our planet during the dawn of life. How freaking cool is that?
That is really cool.
You go to the moon and you find an Earth rock.
Well, it's either the Earth got bombarded by something that was that heavy and that big, or aliens landed and something got on their craft and then they went to the moon and it fell off.
I did see some discussion about this, and they were like, this proves, and it doesn't prove, that Earth was actually a part of the Earth. And this is just a big chunk that, separated from the Earth.
Yeah.
We used to be like barbell shaped, and then, the Earth just kind of got flung out. That is an argument. I don't buy that.
So you don't believe the whole alien thing, huh?
No, that's kind of far-fetched, man.
I don't know. I like to think, you just never know.
You never know. I can't prove it one way or another, but I've got my opinions. My opinions are there.
And your opinions count.
Sometimes they don't because they're stupid.
There's no such thing as a stupid opinion.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there is. It's good to talk about it. I mean, like, there are no dumb ideas. I mean, when you're brainstorming or something, then yeah, I guess it could come in useful, but then there's just like, no.
Oh, the things that people think and say. Fun.
You can find a lot of stuff on the internet unless you're in Tonga.
And residents of South Pacific nation of Tonga is still experiencing a total internet shutdown after an underwater cable which connects the island to the rest of the world was severed, possibly by the anchor of a large ship. It doesn't just mean that the isolated country can't access WTF Nation Radio, U.S. Army WTF Moments, Facebook, and YouTube. It also affected email, airline bookings, university enrollment, money wires, and prevented businesses from processing credit and debit cards, throwing the small country into chaos as they face up to weeks of internet isolation. Think about that. A ship from nearby Samoa will be sent out to fix the severed cable within the next week. And in the meantime, a satellite dish has been set up in the country's capital. Hundreds of people reportedly gathered outside of the government building housing the dish, where the signal is most reliable to conduct necessary business or to simply touch base with relatives located away from the island. You just wait for your turn to have your 20 minutes to access. It's currently hot in Tonga at the moment, but they're put up a tent outside with chairs so people can wait. Tonga police spokeswoman Sia Adams said of the gathering outside of the building, for which hours have been extended to midnight. It's like going back to the beginning of the internet, she continued. The severed cable connects Tonga to trans-Pacific internet wires, which are the sole source of connectivity for Tonga's population of about 100,000. It was reportedly severed in two spots about 6.2 miles off of Tonga's coast. Tonga is an
archipelago
comprised of 169 islands, many of which are uninhabited. As is the case of many Pacific islands, there isn't enough population or funding for more than one cable to run from the main island. Because to the near complete blackout, the country is functioning normally internally, but it's still fairly cut off from the world. It's like the Dark Ages. Despite the confusion and inconvenience, locals are still said to be in good spirits. The residents have an overall mindset of, it will be fixed when it's fixed.
That's almost terrifying if you're a person that relies on commerce and it's all done through the internet, and then all of a sudden that's gone. One day you wake up and that's worse than a government shutdown, dude. You cannot make any money no matter what you do in the way that you would normally make money.
Well, it's not just that. Think about the banks, okay? The banks that are running there rely on transfers and wiring of funds, and all of a sudden they can't do their business. And so your local bank, all of a sudden is put in a position of funds. They don't know who has what. They don't know. It goes to a system of, well, you had this, and well, even though you may have been transferred this, we don't know, so you only have $1, even though you may have just gotten paid.
And it's not like they didn't have backup systems. I mean, I'm sure everything's backed up, but it's backed up somewhere else. But Tonga is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And the backup systems are probably somewhere else, not on that island, because you're talking about internet. I mean, nobody expects stuff like that to happen.
Tonga relies heavily on China.
Yeah.
For infrastructure and commerce and whatnot. If I looked at a map, I had these numbers drawn out, and I don't know what I did with that piece of paper. But if you take a line and you connect Honolulu to New Zealand,
yeah,
Tonga is in there. It's about 3,500 miles away from Honolulu, and it's about 2,500 miles away from New Zealand.
Wow,
they're there. I mean, it's an archipelago, so there's a lot of islands. Not all of those islands are inhabited.
Yeah.
But that's their sole, like the story said, that's their sole source. That cable is their sole source of connectivity to the rest of the world.
Wow. Can you imagine we couldn't be broadcasting the show if we lost ours.
True. But I mean, if you're on Tonga, I mean, I could find 1,000 things to do rather than surf the internet if I was on Tonga.
Yeah, I mean, it is a beautiful place.
That's an awesome looking place. I'm looking at that picture going, damn.
Uh-huh. Right? I mean, that is beautiful. Oh, hey, the survey came up.
It sure did. King Arthur is said to be the son of what British king? Ferdinand, Percival, Uther, or Mardred? And the answer is Uther.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought, but I didn't know. I was just like, Uther sounds right, so I said Uther. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's the right answer. I don't know why. I don't know why I knew that.
You know, it's one of those things, if you've ever watched King Arthur stuff, they say a lot of names, and sometimes you just, the name is there even if you don't really listen. So when it comes up, you're like, oh, I heard that name.
Yeah, I know that name. So I've got another. This is the Spanky minivan one.
Uh-oh.
Spanky's minivan has been modified to burn what? Biodiesel, fire sauce from Taco Bell, pico de gallo, or the flesh that anyone of the body of anyone that says that she has a minivan.
Huh. Interesting.
Well, it looks like the Patriots scored, and it's 10-3 now.
For those of you that actually are watching or want to know, it's 10-3 Patriots.
That's what I said.
Yes, it is. And I was just backing you up.
So biodiesel, fire sauce, pico de gallo, or the flesh of anyone that says that Spanky has a minivan.
I'd go with the flesh just because I know she's going to come after you soon.
Right. Yeah, I've got a story about an angry, upset female. Angry, upset female.
Those aren't very common.
Mary from Dallas, Texas, filed a lawsuit against background check site Persopo.com this month in court. In her lawsuit, she alleges that Persopo.com provided her husband with confidential information about her. Her husband divorced her based off of this information, and she wants Persopo.com to pay. Nowhere in the lawsuit does it dispute if the information is accurate or not, nor that she was having an affair on her husband with multiple men.
Ooh.
Frank had suspected his wife of cheating for a long time. She would constantly be gone for hours without answering her phone and never seemed to have an honest answer of why she was gone or where she was. Frank had finally had enough and decided to start doing some research online. He found Persopo.com. This story is not an advertisement for Persopo.com. They just kind of use that about 1,000 times in it. Anyway, he hired Persopo.com to do who is a background site that can give you all sorts of information about someone. To use Persopo.com, all you need to do is type in a name and state the name and the state, and then the system goes to work, pulling together every possible piece of information about them. Persopo.com not only pulls from public records, but from many other social and dating websites around the internet. It can give you a full picture of someone's online activity almost instantly. And this is how Frank caught his wife, Mary. More and more Americans are using online background check services like Persopo.com. They use the service to scope out friends, family, teachers, coworkers, or anyone they feel like. Searching is easy. All you have to do is type in a name and state where they live. Instantly, you can get access to a huge amount of data from criminal records, property records, and in Frank's case, he also found out quite a bit of online activity from his wife as well. Persopo.com even included a screenshot of her Match.com profile, where it states that she's never been married. For the relationship status. After confronting Mary about the situation, Mary did admit to Frank about the affair. She stated that she had slept with at least 4 different men within the last 12 months. Frank promptly filed for divorce. Mary is now stating that Persopo.com, quote, ruined my life by revealing private information about me. She is currently seeking unspecified damages.
Gee, maybe she shouldn't have been playing around on him.
So she's just, I don't know, man. She's not like she didn't deny any of the allegations.
No, and that's sad. I mean, she got upset because she got caught.
Yes.
I mean, you got caught, lady. Deal with it. You shouldn't have gone. I mean, come on. He could have actually found that information without Persoco by simply going to some of the dating sites and typing in her name.
I wonder how much it costs.
Good question, huh?
I mean, there's ain't nothing for free.
No.
And that also kind of makes you think about, okay, what is your internet, footprint?
How
large is our you, me, anybody here, AL1 Commo, Casey, how big is our footprint? How many things do we do online?
And I've actually seen it, and I know ICE has talked about it. I've talked or messaged something on my phone, and then I go and turn on my browser or like Facebook, and boom, all of a sudden there's advertisement for something I just talked about.
I've tried that, and my daughter and I will sit in her room talking about. My example was, I want to buy a swing set, a very large wooden swing set to put in the yard.
Yeah.
And we've done this a number of times. I have yet to see an ad for a swing set of any size. I'm kind of disappointed, but that's okay.
Be glad, because I've actually seen it happen where I've been talking about something and I go on Facebook and within seconds the advertisement comes up and I'm just sitting there going, that's not something I wanted to see.
There's a guy on YouTube that did that. He had everything completely cleared out. All of his cookies were cleared out. And then he started his video and he started having a conversation talking about what he was going to do. And then he stated some things.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went back and relaunched his browser. And then these little pop-ups weren't direct hits from what he was talking about, but they were close enough to make you go, I wonder if they're listening to me.
And that's just it. I'm not a tinfoil times person. That we leave that to Jay Reddy, Pookie, and Mulder. But you have to be. There's microphones everywhere. I mean, your phone when it's on, your computers, even your televisions, they have microphones.
I just got a new phone last week, last Tuesday or Wednesday. I changed. I ditched AT&T.
Yeah.
For my phone, and I went to T-Mobile. And dude, if you're a veteran, that's a sweet ass deal. Sweet, very sweet deal.
Yeah.
Blows the hell out of anything AT&T could offer. And I tried bargaining with AT&T, and it's just they couldn't do any better. And I've been with them for 20 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I had to go through, when I'm setting up this phone, all of my security protocols and what is allowed, what is not allowed per app. Because the default setting is allow all.
Yes.
You have to you physically have to go in there and choose what you want to allow the apps to have access to.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the same with your computer.
Yes.
People don't realize this. Those of you that are using your computers, even when you first put in Windows 10, your computer, you went and put in privacy settings. Your computer there's a good chance Windows actually undid your privacy settings because they want your information.
And with each update, you have to go back and redo these.
Yes. And we know this because we've actually researched it. In depth. Big Brother did some things. So be careful about stuff like that. But yeah, can you imagine what would people find out about us if they were to type in our name and actually research us?
I don't care. I mean, I suppose I should care, but I'm not out there online. I don't put everything out there,
and neither do I. I know people that will put down what they just had for breakfast to the fact that they just went to the bathroom on the internet, and
or you get those guys that, hey, we're going on vacation for 3 weeks. We're going to be in New Zealand. Then you're like, well, damn, there's not going to be anybody in their house, and I know they don't have any animals.
Yeah. I mean, you have to use a little common sense when you use the internet, and a lot of people don't. I mean, they sit there and people try to one-up each other on how they can look or what they can say or how off the wall they can be.
Right.
You have to be careful with that because it can come back to bite you. I always
especially if you're applying for jobs, because your employer, if they're a big enough employer, maybe your mom and pop shop's not gonna do this, but if you work for AT&T or if you work for Boeing or whatever, they're gonna dig into your social media history.
Believe it or not, even the small companies now, because a lot of times anymore, employers cannot ask you why you left the company you were at. And
some states have that. They can't. I think in California they can't ask you your prior salary history. They can't ask you criminal history. I want to say criminal history's on there.
They can't ask you criminal history.
For certain jobs. I mean, if you're going to go work for the government or for some place that requires a security clearance, you're going to have to go through a background check.
Yeah, but they also can't ask you if you were fired. Or did you quit? And what was your job? In other words, and what was your job performance like? They can't ask those questions. Well, they can go run a background check on you.
True.
And you'd be surprised how many dips will actually say, got fired from my job. Ha, ha, ha. Or I got fired from my job. Anybody know anybody who's taking applications?
True.
So, your poll came up.
Yeah, Spanky's minivan has been specially modified to burn what? Biodiesel, fire sauce from Taco Bell, pico de gallo, or the flesh of anyone saying that she has a minivan. And the correct answer is the flesh of anyone that says that she has a minivan. That would be me, because Spanky drives a Dodge minivan. I said it. But that's okay, because when she comes up here to kill me, I'll just tell her I'm buying the tacos, and then she'll forget about everything, and then we'll go and get some tacos and laugh and have fun. And but I got the big smiley face emoji on there. I'm going to try to do this every week, just kind of have a really terrible joke. So I like jokes. I like jokes, and I like trivia. So 5 surgeons. We're talking about who were the best patients. The first surgeon says accountants are the best to operate on because when you open them up, everything on the inside is numbered. The second surgeon says, nah, librarians are the best because everything inside them is in alphabetical order. The third surgeon says, no, try electricians, man. Everything inside them is color-coded. The fourth surgeon intercedes. He goes, I prefer lawyers because they're heartless, they're spineless, they're gutless, and their heads and their asses are interchangeable. To which the fifth surgeon says, who had been quietly listening to the conversation, says, you know, I like engineers. They always understand when you have a few parts left over at the end. So I tested that joke out on my daughter. And she looked at me, and then she stared off, and I think she was staring at the ceiling. And she was stone-faced, and she didn't smile. She didn't laugh. And she goes, you should change the punchline with the lawyer one. She said that to change up the fourth surgeon and the fifth surgeon. To use the lawyers because they're heartless, spineless, gutless, and their heads and their asses are interchangeable. But because it's about me.
Yeah.
Than the engineering thing, so I went with the engineering thing. I hope you all enjoyed that.
I did.
If you all enjoyed it half as much as I did, then I am very happy and my mission is accomplished. So we're coming down to the end of our show. I want to thank everybody for being here. We do have a guest this week, which is on Thursday on Sergeant Time.
Yep.
Joseph Terry, who was the Sergeant Major, retired from the NCOA, the Non-Commissioned Officers Association, is going to be with us. Sergeant Major retired Joseph Terry is the Executive Director of the NCOA, and he will be coming to Sergeant's Time to talk about what the organization does. The NCOA is currently a strong voice on Capitol Hill and with the Veterans Administration, and their members around the world are making a difference in their local communities. As the Executive Director of the NCOA, Joseph is responsible for overseeing its daily operations and leading a dedicated headquarters staff that serves over 50,000 members worldwide. NCOA is a 501c organization that was established in 1960 to enhance and maintain the quality of life for the non-commissioned and petty officers in all branches of the armed forces, active duty, National Guard, reserves, veterans, widows, and their families. That's going to be a pretty damn good show, because all I know is when I was in the Army, they pushed being an NCOA member.
Yes, they did.
And I don't know how they're doing it right now, if they're still pushing that, but I imagine that they are, and it's a good thing. It really is a good thing.
It gives NCOs a voice, which actually it needs to happen, because we actually do care about enlisted.
Yeah, because we see, when I was lower enlisted, it was AUSA, the Association of the United States Army. That was the, hey, you need to become a member of this, and then when you become an NCO, they push the NCOA. Both of which are pretty damn awesome. There's a lot of groups and organizations that you can join. And it's good for camaraderie. It's good for just it's like how old people go to the Elks Lodge or whatnot.
Exactly, and it also gives you the ability to make sure you have a voice, because there's a lot of lobby groups out there that lobby against the military or lobby against this, lobby against that. This gives us a lobby group.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they lobby against the military, but they don't. It's not that they're lobbying for it. They're it's a group collectively. They're in your corner, and as like snakes in the grass that lobbyists are, because it's a pay to play type thing. They're out there fighting for you,
and it's a needed thing.
Hey, Kamo, I don't have any control over Botface, man. He is a self-aware AI, and he tends to come and go as he pleases. I was very surprised when I signed in today to see that Sergeant Botface had reported for duty. But I honestly I don't have any control over what Sergeant Botface does.
I keep saying he's not a sergeant; he's a warrant. You just never know when he's going to show up.
CW5 Botface.
That makes more sense to me.
All right, everybody, we got shows. We got 5 shows a week. Monday edition with Ice and Flash is on Monday. Tied Up Tuesday with Minx is coming back.
Yep.
So that'll be on Tuesdays. Thursday, Sergeant's Time with Ice and Sergeant First Class Minivan. Saturday, Tinfoil Times with J. Reddy, Pookie, and Mulder. And Sunday, Kicking It with Kaz with me and Al. You know what?
What?
My copy says Sergeant First Class Minivan. Did she change her name?
No, I think you changed it.
I'm just reading. I'm reading this. I'm reading this. I don't know how that got there.
I don't know either. I wouldn't have any idea. And I'll tell you what, I'll take odds on that it won't be long and you're going to have all sorts of brooms being thrown at your house. Missiles.
Yeah, Kamo, I don't know about Minx doing Fridays. I know that she's just coming back. She just bought a house and she's getting things in order. Maybe she's starting with Tuesdays and maybe she'll move on to doing Fridays as well. It all depends. It's all up to her. If not, then we've got to find another host or group of hosts for Friday, which reminds me, we are always looking for on-air talent. We're looking for social media people. Go to WTFNR.com, contact us, and there's an application there. Fill out the application. Fill it out. Don't just put your name on it and your number and I want to do this. Answer all the questions.
Look us up
as thoroughly as you can.
And even if you don't think that you're material, tell you what, I didn't think I was on air material, and look at me.
I'm a big boy.
I'm a big boy now.
All right, man, I think we're going to call it. Do you have any parting thoughts?
I do. Remember that you always have a choice. Even if you don't think you have a choice, you always have a choice. Even if the choice does not seem to be what you want, it's there. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Your life is full of choices, and you can make the ones that are positive for you. So make the choice to be positive.
Looks like Mark Stanzel over in the main page chat said that they're a great organization, the NCOA.
Yeah.
Another great organization that I can't talk enough good stuff about is War Horses for Veterans. War Horses for Veterans is a 3-day equine therapy program in Stillwell, Kansas that just escaped from a deep freeze, and all the horses are fine. The program is free to all combat veterans. This includes airfare, lodging, and meals. Go to facebook.com/War Horses for Veterans, or you can go to warhorsesforveterans.com. And there's all of the information is there that you need. It's one of the best 3-day vacations that I've really got a lot out of it. I got a lot out of it. I mean, it's just a great place. It's just a great atmosphere. And give Andy and Pat a holler over there, and they'll get back with you. And the gentleman earlier who wanted to visit War Horses for Veterans because he's in the area, hit him up, man. Just go to the website. They may even have a phone number there, and set up a visit. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to accommodate. And my parting thoughts. I kind of like this one. How far you go in life depends on you being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the strong, because someday in life you will have been all of these. Thank you all for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you guys being here. I don't have a dog in this fight, so I don't know about who I want to win. I know I want the Patriots to lose. It's not so much that I want the Rams to win. I just kind of want the Patriots to lose. I hope everybody has a spectacular evening and a really good start to the week. You know what's kind of funny? My daughter's in ROTC, and they let her know on, I think it was Thursday, that there's not going to be any. She does PT every morning with the group, so she drives onto campus, they do PT, and then she goes to classes, and then she comes home. And that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They do a road march every other Friday. They were told because of the Super Bowl, they're not doing PT tomorrow. How about that? I think that's pretty awesome. Anyway, you guys have a good night. It's been fun. It has been fun, and I hope to see you guys next week. Make sure that you check us out tomorrow night with the Monday edition. And we're out of here, man. Have a good week.
Here's a shot out of a cannon. Oprah, Barbara Walters, your wife. You gotta fuck one, marry one, kill one. Go.
I think we're done here. Thank you.
Disney.
Radio. WTF Nation Radio.